still watch budget journals.
Is he out of town?
Lunch break for the second half of our budget session, and we will be discussing this is the financial modeling impacts of retrenchment scenarios. Also, I do want to note that Madam Chair Hill, Councilman Clark, and Councilman Elliott and Councilman Henderson are all, well, Madam Chair Hill, Councilman Clark, and Councilman Elliott are all in the building listening, and Councilman Henderson is watching online. So I wanted to make those notes as we get started. So that's right, Phil. That's right. All five were. Yeah, that's right. All right, that's fine.
I called a quorum.
Okay, all right. So we can go ahead and get started.
Perfect. So this part, as you mentioned, is kind of designed to be a bit of a refresher, if you will, of kind of what's in the budget that we passed earlier this year and what the budget functionally does and kind of the things that are in there, and then also touch on some of the things that are not in there that we did cut as a process of going through budgeting earlier this year.
Can I add something just real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to look at it in kind of three different ways. The first way is we kind of went through and highlighted just bodies of work, right? Like there are things that the budget funds, so functions of what we do as city government that happen in various departments. The second way we're going to look at it is kind of like at the departmental level, where it was suggested when we were doing the full budget process that one way to go and get additional savings would be just to kind of do across the board cuts. And so we're going to talk through kind of what that impact would be. And then another portion, we're going to talk about stuff. We want to remind folks that the budget that we presented to you guys reflected a ton of things that we took off the board. So there were a lot of things that we wanted to do, that we wish we could do, that we believe are to the net benefit of our residents to do, that we couldn't do because we got to present a balanced budget, right? And so we only have so much revenue to look at. And so, yeah, just as we're talking through, I guess I want to say, there are kind of two ways to have like thinking about mindset. Like we can have a scarcity mindset, or we can think about opportunity, right? And I do think that there's an opportunity before us to think about properly resourcing city government for true priorities to achieve shared desired outcomes.
And real quick before we start, thank you for sharing this, Madam Chair. Marty Haynes, our property assessor, will be at our meeting next Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Okay, very good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Haynes. Looking forward to it.
Okay. So we'll start kind of, as Kevin mentioned, looking at the bodies of work that are being done within the current budget that we have passed. Obviously, this list isn't everything, but we try to kind of highlight some of the bigger things and some of the important things that it's doing. So, $8.2 million is kind of funding the community centers, which represents 108 people, and then all the great things that the community centers do in each of the communities that they operate in, all the resources that they have. Kids Camp, another great thing that we're just going through now, that great benefit to our citizens that we did get funded in the budget. CARTA's appropriation, the 5.8 plus the additional amount that we were able to do to fund their full request to get them funded at the appropriate level. Other agency appropriations, you see those listed there for the different agencies that we have. Supporting the senior tax freeze program, the library locations, community safety, gun violence prevention, that's doing great work, aquatics, recycling, brush pickup, all of these things that the city is doing that sometimes I think may get taken for granted, but do cost, have a significant cost in some cases. Again, fitness center, mowing and leaf collection, therapeutic programs that the parks department offers, our special programs like the Pops on the River that we just had, New Year's Eve, and other things that we do. The RFP contracts that we have in each of our departments, where we've partnered with certain agencies to provide services to citizens. Neighborhood services that are kind of boots on the ground in the neighborhoods, helping with neighborhood associations and all the different things they have going on. The 311 animal services that live kind of inside of police's budget, but that provide a service to us. Code enforcement and short-term vacation rental inspection, which has become increasingly a hot topic. So that they're supporting the work that's being discussed and all of that. And so the budget that we have currently does a lot of really good things, but it all just costs money. And then again, as we've talked, inflation has kind of hammered some of these programs where we're trying to do more or sustain with kind of a less purchasing power. So again, some of the things that this budget does do.
Right, don't go anywhere.
Yep.
And, Madam Chair has a question.
So you teed this up with, here's all the things that we're doing in the city, and then proceeded to list a lot of the small items in the budget, not our big three buckets of government. We don't see public works, fire, or police listed here. So honestly, when I saw this list initially, I thought, okay, this is what they're suggesting gets cut, that you're like, if you want to make a cut, council, you're gonna have to do something that you really don't want to do. Like, that's how I read this, as kind of like a shoulder throw of like, oh, you want that? Well, STVR inspections cost $212,000, at which point I would remind you that we have an entire fee structure related to that we were told by this administration would cover the cost of that. So I'm a little unsure about what you're trying to actually set us up for in this conversation.
Yeah, well, we're not trying to set you up for anything. What we're trying to do is talk about.
Well, you're crafting a narrative.
Well, we are crafting a narrative. The narrative is the same as it has been kind of throughout. We have presented to you guys, and you guys have passed a really good budget. We do not believe that there is no obvious, meaningful, like, next easy thing to go cut. Additional cuts are going to draw blood, and so we can do a departmental look through. You know, we want you guys to have eyes wide open to both fire and police and their budgets, which is why we're doing those distinctly. We're happy to pull together something for Public Works too, to like do a deep dive. But fundamentally, like the way that we resource departments fuels bodies of work that are over and above or maybe outside of like kind of the core competencies of those departments. And so the purpose of kind of highlighting it like this is to say, okay, well, where do you guys see opportunities thinking about bodies of work for additional cuts that don't end up just resulting in a reduction of services? Because the administration doesn't see it. I don't believe that there is, if the goal is to get $5 million more out of this budget, I don't believe that there's an obvious way or a way to do it without impacting people or programming. And so,
You mean staffing or programming?
yeah, I mean individuals, right? Or funding for the programming that those individuals do. And this is kind of an example of some of those programs.
Okay.
What point of information, if I can?
Just
I-
a second. Okay,
Yeah.
so, Madam,
Good.
you good, Madam Chair? Okay, Councilman Elliott?
Are you saying that you think this is the only places we can find savings?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And I'm not even saying that there are savings to be found here. I'm saying that we're looking at it like, what is in the aggregate, like if we go in and we're gonna look at it in a different way here in a second, where we're gonna kind of go department by department and say, let's apply a 2% reduction and just see what that would look like. But this was just one way of kind of thinking about, again, the bodies of work that happen as a result of the funding that we provide. Admittedly, it's a cherry-picked list of things that I think we all care about, right? We don't want to see reductions in. And so the point is to underscore that additional cuts would mean additional reduction in services and programming, like things listed on these two slides.
And let me ask this, so I don't jump the gun or move too hastily. what you're about to show us, are these proposal cuts,
Nope.
or these are just scenarios?
The administration,
Possibilities.
the Kelly administration does not support any more cuts to this budget.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Are these possibilities, if we were to pursue cuts, that you guys would think would be the best places for them?
Good question.
No, I don't think that these are the best places. I don't think that there are best places. I think that the best places to identify savings have already been identified, which is why we were able to do a carve-out from contingency, because we have already put forward a budget that's slim and trim. And it's a budget that doesn't even fund other things that we would like to fund, that we feel like are equally or are close to equally important to the things that we did fund, right? We're already making difficult trade-offs because we believe that that there are additional opportunities that are resource constrained. So no, we are not suggesting that these are things to cut. We're trying to show that additional cuts would impact things like these bodies of work.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Elliott. Councilman Harvey.
Couple questions, and I may be jumping the gun on this, but since have been discussing chickens, and we are looking to McCamey for help, animal services. What is that? Is that McCamey?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
It's $2.2 million. We pay them for our animal services that they don't always provide.
Okay, all right, good to know.
Oh, there
Mandy did a really good assessment for us of what it would look like to bring that in-house.
Oh, okay, all right.
Hey, Mandy.
Okay.
Mandy, can I invite you to join us at the table just to add commentary kind of as you feel?
Color commentary.
Because
I want to hear what I have to say. No, I'm listening.
well, I think it's helpful to hear kind of from an operations perspective
Yeah, definitely. From
Absolutely.
that, you know, like when we're talking about resourcing our departments and our activities, there are buckets of things that are needed, right? The primary one, as we all know, is the people to actually do a lot of the frontline work. Then there's equipment costs, right? There's a lot of like fixed costs associated with people. Then there's equipment. Then there's, you know, operational programming centric things. And I think that as we go, and I'm not putting you on the spot right now, but as we go, just feel free to jump in and provide whatever commentary you might feel appropriate.
My other question was therapeutic programs via parks in 6 positions. What are those therapeutic programs?
It's a variety of things. I know that there's things like yoga classes, things like, I know that there's some senior programming that happens through parks. Steve, can you rattle off a list of other stuff that might fit into this category? If not putting you on the spot, we can follow up and give you a full
Yeah,
list.
that's fine.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Harvey. All right,
I do have a question.
okay, Councilman Clark.
You know, I think this is exciting to see these things added. And when we talk about the bodies of work, this is what we are adding. Is that correct? Or
No, these are things that are already funded in the budget, things that we're doing through the budget.
oh,
You missed that part.
oh, so what? Okay, so maybe I need a recap. So what are these numbers that I'm looking at?
So these are, we've looked at this budget from 100 different ways, right? 100 different angles. So
Sure.
there's like a line item thing
Sure.
that you can go through, or you can think about it in terms of, well, what are some things that when you incorporate, like community centers, for example. So that's, you know, the people, that's the things that happen at the community center. It's kind of like the facility stuff. We roll it up and we get that number. And so each one of these is representative of a body of work that if we were to come in and try to put an additional cut,
Oh,
it's
gotcha.
going to
Okay.
impact the things that we're doing along
Gotcha.
each one
You're
of these
just showing
lines.
us what's, because I was like, this looks familiar, but the
Yeah.
reason why it's on the screen is that you're using it as an example of like
Yeah.
what an impact could be as a result of a cut.
Yeah, like if we want to go find $5 million more, like where would we look? Well, we're going to
Okay.
look at kind of our bigger line items, and then we need to think about, well,
Okay.
if we cut that, what impact is it going to have, and how's that going to ferret out?
Thank you, sorry.
There you go.
I got excited.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. All right, so we continue on, Kevin, Wilson.
So when we started the budget process earlier this year, in January, we kind of went to the departments and said, hey, give us your list of what you'd like to see budgeted in your department. And we didn't really put a whole lot of guardrails on it, and they came back with a lot of good things they wanted to fund. But it came in at the tune of $407 million. And the budget that we passed was 345, so we had to kind of get down. So there were a lot of things left on the floor that departments cut that were good programs or great ideas, things they wanted to get done and we're excited about, but we just couldn't get into this budget. And so we had them. Kevin, you wanna-
Yeah, so and we added this this morning. It's in the folder. You guys can review it. Again, the purpose of this stuff, of this list, is to say there were already incremental things that we would like to do that I bet upon review you would look at these and say, oh yeah, that would be a good thing to do, that we're not doing because we are resource constrained. And the reason, Madam Chair and others, that I think that it's important to remind ourselves of this is because on the one hand, like in our previous session, I'm hearing you guys say, you know, in some areas there's opportunities to provide a higher level of service or a higher level of programming or to do things differently, right? And then the general framing up to this point has been around going in and making additional cuts. And so I think that those two things are misaligned. Like we're doing a lot of things. We're not doing everything that we could be doing. But coming in and making an additional set of cuts is going to hinder our ability to continue doing things that we all agree that we should be doing.
I tried to click into that link and I couldn't get in there. Sorry, Councilman Elliott. Because y'all just let me in. Set request access. Councilman Elliott.
I think, Kevin, I want to, at least from my perspective, I don't want to speak for anyone else. I think when we went through this as a first-time council person and really having to peel back that budget and also having a great understanding and respect for the limitations that government has, especially when it comes to constraints, I think for myself, and I don't, like I said, I don't speak for my colleagues, there are portions of the budget where you can see things working well, dollars being stretched, and understand employees are doing the best with what they have. But there are pieces of that budget where I feel like, is this necessary? Is this increase necessary? Is this line item necessary? Is it wasteful spending that could go elsewhere or should exist at all? And so I say that to just give like a framework. Because I see these things here. And a lot of the things that you're presenting here are the boots to the ground, not trying to be funny. So tuck your fans away. These are a lot of the essential works that we're trying to do. These projects are essential. Finding new fire halls, fixing pay. Like, I get that. And these, at least for me, these are not the many things that catch my eye when I say they're savings. And I think as you go through your presentation, I looked at this last night, when you go through your individual departments and you see those line items, you guys highlight the most important parts of those line items, which I appreciate. But there are things that are tucked away in this budget in the other columns. You're going to see columns that say other that has balloon costs. There's probably a hodgepodge of different things that we don't really know because it's just other. It's a lot of those things. I'm like, those are things I want to talk about.
Well,
And so I just want to frame at least where I'm coming from on some of those.
so I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. I would say to you, bring those to us in specific terms because I do not agree with you that there are things in this budget that are line itemed as other that have ballooned. I think that everything is enumerated. The reason that we went in and put the categories the way that we did in the subsequent slides is because those are kind of like the biggest buckets. And if the objective or kind of like the thought here is we need to go in and find additional meaningful savings, those are the big buckets where there's the most money, so that's what we should be looking at. And what I'm trying to convince you of, frankly, is that we can't cut those buckets without drawing blood, without there being some opportunity cost to making additional cuts through, and it would mean reducing some service somewhere or something that we're doing that we don't do tomorrow. And so if you're suggesting that there are things in the budget that you feel like we shouldn't be doing, I would ask you to just let's get specific and bring those to us so that we can defend them, because we feel like anything that's in the budget is something that we should be doing and there's a justification for it. Or if there's a level of funding that you don't feel like is appropriate, let's have those conversations too. But our position is that it is appropriately funded, which is why we put it forward in the first place.
And I think for me, just from my perspective, I am, for you all, looking for the sanctity of the budget and also not trying to prolong this, especially also considering how the time in which we came in. We could do that. I'm scared with how nasty or how messy that could get, of us really starting to chip away line by line. Okay, I don't like this, I don't like that, and then you have 9 other opinions like going haywire in your budget, trying to slice things left and right.
Alright, so in the.
And so that's it, and I don't want to keep.
Alright, so in the, in considering time, we wanna go ahead and get through this, and council, of course, we can stop where we need to, but just jot your questions down and we can get back to that. But any follow-up, I know Kim is taking notes and everything, so we can do a follow-up for that. Alright, let's continue.
Perfect. So yeah, so we've kind of looked at it programmatically a little bit. So we'll go into kind of the budget line by line for each department and start with the general government. These are things that really can't be cut as far as debt service, contingency. You'll see the earnest money, the $5 million that we have set aside already for sworn pay, R&R, stormwater fees, money that we're required to pay to Hamilton County. A couple of different things there. So these are things that we can't cut that we're kind of required to do. We have a couple agencies in here. Again, we touched on those on the previous slide, but they're enumerated there as well. The last one, the Tennessee River Park Enterprise South, that is in conjunction, in partnership with Hamilton County. So it's our share of the maintenance of those. The quasi-agencies, again, Public Library, Air Pollution Control, Regional Planning, the Heritage Hall, and the Bessie Smith Center. That's our shared portion of that. So some of the quasi-agencies that are budgeted in this current budget. And then kind of getting into just the budgets for each of the departments. And so, Councilman Elliott, you're right, I pulled out some of the larger pieces, just trying to highlight those where if we were going to make cuts in each of these are kind of the buckets that have the most meat on the bone.
Okay, I see.
Right.
That
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense
so
now.
so think about it like this, like,
Okay.
if we were to say, okay, to get another, to draw out another $5 million is effectively a 2% cut across the budget, and we'll just spread that evenly across all of our departments. So for the city council budget, we would need to go find $19,933.
Oh, that makes sense.
So where would we pull that from, and what impact would that have? So, to your point, there is a line item, and it's called other, and we could pull it from there. But you guys use that for things that I think are needed. You know what I mean? And so it's like, well,
And
all right. So then you would probably make the argument, no, we shouldn't cut that one, and then we would go to the next one, and we have done this work already.
And so just so you kind of know our methodology of how we got to other, right? So this is a budget book. It's on the website. I think it was sent to all of you as well. Mm-hmm. And so we pulled kind of the larger items out, and then other is just everything else. So it could be pages of other, like this case, y'all's budget is 2 pages. I pulled out the large, but this summation of all these little items gets us to that 34. So there's not $20,000 in any one line item. You'd have to cut multiple line items. And so that's in every department. That's how we got to other. It was kind of the big things and then everything else. That again, some of them are multiple pages worth of stuff that we just couldn't put on one slide.
And I get that. I know you won't be cutting one thing, you'll be having to trim
Right.
pieces by piece, but.
And our thought is getting to a meaningful cut, finding $5 million. You may find some money going through each line item, but you're not gonna, if you want to get to the 5 million or whatever that number ends up being, to find additional large cuts, it's gonna have to be in some of these larger buckets as opposed to going into just nickel and diming these little bitty ones.
I agree.
And so, yeah, so you can see, again, we'll just kind of go through some of these and stop me if you have any specific questions, but
Councilman Harvey.
yes.
Don't necessarily need an answer now. Kim, maybe just something to make a note on. I'm curious as to what other contracted services includes in our budget. And then the other line item as well. So again, no answer needed, just want to look at that.
Yeah. And just quick on contracted services, that's for whatever we want it to be. That's what we were discussing, the possible policy person or contracting with UTC to do the policy stuff, like anything additional that we need.
Okay.
Yeah, since we don't have a lot to say.
Okay.
Is that right, Madam Chair? I wanna make sure. Okay.
That's all, thanks.
Okay, I don't know about that other, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, the other, like I said, it's a
It's
list of,
broken down into,
like,
yeah,
could be
pretty small
40
buckets.
different things.
Okay.
Smaller, yeah, for sure.
We'd need to, I mean, if we were to have an approach like that, I would think that each department, including ours, city clerk, we would go through it and carefully think through where are the pieces where we're gonna pull, knowing that you've gotta find $19,000.
Right.
Okay.
So the next one, the city judge, I mean, the bulk, almost all of their budget is their salaries, and risk management is a cost that's allocated to them, so it's not something that they can control. And then again, their other is spread out among multiple things.
And it's all 2% cuts
Correct.
across the board, right? Okay.
And so, again, just emphasizing, if you were gonna find $12,000, it would be hard to do in this budget without affecting the authorized positions line. City attorney, kind of the same. The authorized positions is the lion's share of their budget, and then the warehouse, storage, and delivery is kind of an essential cost for them. Risk management, again, is an allocated cost to them. And so finding the 50 million, or the 50,000 would be tough to do in those other buckets.
We've already lost one to the county.
An attorney?
Yes.
Stay taking out.
Again, internal audit, the bulk of their budget is in positions, along with some of the other things that they're required to have, including the risk management. DTS, authorized positions is a big chunk of their budget, but also just the general IT maintenance that they have citywide, and the digital connectivity, just the things they do that span this across the whole city, they have a lot of those costs.
Yeah, I think what's important to know on the DTS budget that is something that, you know, when we talk about a flat budget, so if any other department picks up a system, like say if the police department picks up a new computer system, or like we're looking at a pension system right now, the initial department pays for the system, and then DTS is expected to pay for anything ongoing from that. So it's nearly impossible for them to have a flat budget because they take the entire, because they're internal services department, so they're taking what everybody else does and then they're adding it to their budget every single year for every other computer system. So, and that's the way we have it set up here. So it's just one of those things to note that it's not something, it'd be really hard for them to come with a flat budget every single year because of the fact that they're absorbing everybody else's stuff as they go along.
Plus, to kind of drill down a little bit more on DTS, there are things that DTS feels like we ought to be doing that we had to tell them we can't do because we don't have the resources to do it. And so, again, it's the juxtaposition between like trying to find cuts, but then also we're trying to do a lot of things that we need to do to deliver the services at the level that we want to deliver them.
Oh, Councilman Harvey?
Is it possible for us to receive the other list, like the line item stuff that you do have in all of these?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's all available to you.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yep,
So-
in the budget document,
So again, so for city council, this is y'all's budget. The personnel line is here, You'll
Yeah.
see contracted services 100, other 30. So like I pulled those out. The other line is this 2,500, the 500, the 7,500. Anything else that's not separately stated, it is all of these different pieces.
But we can access not just our budget, but
Yes,
all
this
of
this whole
Okay.
600-page document is on the website, and I think it also got sent to you guys on
Okay.
Sunday, Monday.
It's also a public document, I mean.
Okay, all right, very good.
Yeah, it's really
Thank you.
Yes, and then it's also bookmarked, so if you wanted to go and like find a specific,
Okay.
it's fairly easy to navigate.
Very good, thank you.
Purchasing department again is very heavily staff positions and advertising for bids and things, and then their risk management allocation. So not a whole lot in their budget. The executive branch, again, a large chunk of that is the authorized positions, and then some contracted services, space costs. Keep in mind that this also includes the FJC, community health, things like that live in the executive branch. And then again, their other is broken out in the budget book. It is a bigger number here, but they have so many things going on there. It's hard to capture them. Finance, again, 6.5 million of their $8 million budget is positions, fees we pay to the county, space costs for city court, and a handful of other things that we're kind of required to do.
Councilman Elliott?
Andy, I know you've beaten this horse so many times, so excuse me. Remind me what risk management line item is again.
What is risk management?
Yeah. the line item.
So the risk management line item is an enterprise, basically, fund that we pay to fund risk management as a department. So essentially, they do all the workplace injuries, all the claims. So like we have a ton of sewer claims right now of people since we adopted to take on the sewer from the road to the home. What was that, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't know when we did it. And so we've got claims on that. So they take care of those. Fallen trees that happen to be in the city right away, we deal with those. That's a risk management claim, all that kind of stuff. And so they're actually doing subrogation as well, which is the first time we've ever done that, which is so if CPD has a car accident and someone is at fault, we go after that insurance company to recoup the money. So we've not done that historically as a city, so they've been doing a lot of that work. So they're able to actually do root cause analysis, figure out where we need to have additional training, safety, all that. I mean, they do a lot of stuff with a 6-man team.
And this is the first year we're doing this?
First year we've dropped them out as a department.
Are we able to, like next budget cycle, of course, get an idea of like total cost?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
We're,
So we can see.
So.
we're excited about that, sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, so what we did was we reallocated 2 projects in HR in order to pay for a risk management information system.
Okay.
And so we reallocated those to do that initial project. And so they have a great system now called Origami. And so every single week I get a report out of all the claims and what they were, if there were backing incidents or slip trips and falls and all those sorts of things. They will have everything and be able to tell us what they've subrogated, what our claims are, all that kind of stuff. And they do work in tandem with the city attorney's office. So the city attorney approves anything that we do as far as the claims are concerned. But yes, we'll be able to produce all that information for you. We already can. It's just not, we don't have a year's worth because we've only had it for a short period of time.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. That's all I'm saying.
And also, the way it works in the budget this year is in the past, those things have been budgeted, on-job injury claims, settlements, certain insurances have all been on their separate line items. And we took all of those and put it into one risk management fee that then they take. We took the total cost of all of that was budgeted this year and divided by head count and assigned that, allocated it to the departments based on their head count.
Can I, one quick follow-up?
Yeah, quick follow-up, Councilman.
How do y'all determine the cost per department? Like, how do y'all determine how much each department pays?
So say finance, we budgeted a certain amount for on-job injury, for liability insurance, and we took that from each department and threw it in the risk management bucket and came up with a total number, $5 million, let's say. And then we took the total authorized head count in the budget and divided that total bucket by the head count, and then how the 66, we got charged a certain
It's per
person,
employee.
per employee times the 66 employees that we have, and
Okay.
that's the risk management.
But we're trying to establish a baseline
Right,
with
yeah.
this budget.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
The other portion that risk management also does is when I came in here, we had not done a reassessment, property assessment of all of our properties here. And so risk management carries and is in charge of all of the insurance for all of our properties here at the city. And so we had a new assessment done to make sure that our buildings were actually up to, standards as to how much they're actually worth, because if you haven't done an assessment, they're, 10 years ago, things were worth a lot less than they are now. And what triggered that was we had that roof blow off at, I was Head Start Early Learning, and so it was at 12th Street, am I right about that? Anyway, that's what triggered us to be like, whoa, we gotta get in here and get this stuff all
I thought
allocated,
we're
so.
self-insured.
We are self-insured, but we're not self-insured for our buildings. We're self-insured
Oh.
for auto, some. We
Okay.
cover some of our fire trucks, the higher level stuff, but.
Okay.
Anything
All right,
else?
thank you.
All right, Phil, did you?
Yeah, we are self-insured. The aspect as to buildings here, if you have some sort of damage to the building that destroys that building, you need to have some coverage for it.
Yep.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's
Travel,
going straight
travel,
out.
so we have.
okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, Phil. All right.
Perfect. HR, again, 27 authorized positions at 2.9 million of the $3 million budget. The other piece is their risk management, investigative services like background checks and things. And then there are other items. Community development, authorized positions, takes up a big chunk of their budget, along with utilities for the centers and things, is another big piece of it. Risk management, the space costs, recreational support, all things that they're do within community development. And their other is a little bit bigger, but again, they do so much that it's hard to condense that or get those broken out.
Madam Chair?
Remind us how many community development buildings we have.
There's 18 community centers, and then administration shares part of the Midtown campus.
I think that's right, because we literally just turned over Cromwell to the Boys and Girls Club to run.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
so,
we have 18.
18.
We don't own all the buildings.
no,
But we operate in 18 centers. I think we own the majority, but I don't know the exact number.
And then of the 130 authorized positions, there are a number of those that are part-time? Or are they part-time positions?
So in this 600-page document, again, it's a lot. The ordinance has the authorized positions kind of scroll down to it. They're all in here, so
Okay.
if you had, yes, so you can see designated full-time or part-time for each department, and kind of generally what they are by department.
And that's everybody, that's Office of Family Empowerment, that's everybody in there?
Right, so
So that's only like 7 people per center. Almost. That's
so
not
if I
a
can
lot.
find community
Yeah,
development.
because a lot of the smaller centers will only have a couple of people.
yeah, we're not highly staffed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so let's see if I can find
That's
this.
kind of concerning.
Family Empowerment has 2 in there. Community Center staffing is 105 of the 130.
But this does not account for grants, correct?
For what? I'm sorry.
No, not for the community center staff.
Grant funded positions?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Grants, no, it does not.
Man, so that's only like 5 people per.
Some only have 3. Like I said, it depends on the center.
Is what I was kind of getting at related to dilution of work and really being able to provide excellent services. Something I'm thinking about.
It also doesn't include the temporary staffing that we have through the employment agencies. So,
Yeah, I think the issue that we have is that, all of these centers are ingrained in their neighborhoods, and so, if we don't have someone else to come over and take over services, that is not gonna go over well, because most of these, we have people that have been going to these centers for generations, and so the thought of like not having one is a big deal. Like even trading Cromwell over to the Boys and Girls Center was a big deal for us, so a lot of conversation. And we do actually have a breakdown of how many programs are in each center, how many attendees are in each program. We have that as well if y'all would like to see that.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past. I was gonna look it up in my files. If y'all could provide that to
Yeah.
us this week, I'd
Of course.
appreciate it. That'd be really helpful.
Of course.
police, think we touched on that some. Their biggest line item is people, 603 authorized position. Again, those are in the ordinance spelled out what all they are between sworn and non-sworn. And then some of the other things they do as far as IT maintenance, animal services that we talked about earlier, the 911 services, their fleet vehicle operations, risk management, and the radio maintenance. And then the other, again, a large line item, but these were the ones that kind of exceeded the amount we've actually made cuts. Fires, it's pretty much the same thing, 447 authorized positions make up the bulk of their budget, along with their fleet vehicle operations, their risk management, radio maintenance, things of that nature.
Okay, Madam Chair?
Quick question, police have a $1.4 million IT maintenance, but we were just talking about the fact that DTS manages all the maintenance for everybody, so help me understand that.
I think that Chief Chambers would do a better job of that. I think that the moving of centralized IT maintenance functionality, I think is still ongoing, and so that could be legacy stuff that has not yet made the transition, or it could be something else, but I'll make sure that we speak to that next week.
Okay, and then the $750,000 that is for specialty neighborhood policing in District 8, is that part of the police budget?
I'm sorry, which one are you pointing at?
There's $750,000 you've identified a handful of times in your list, in an allocation.
Oh, I see, that is specifically for.
Community Haven, so that's a specialty policing program in District 8, is that coming out of the police budget?
That does not come out of the police budget.
Why is that not part of the police budget?
I think because it is outside of how the Chattanooga Police Department does policing, and so it's an augment to the work that happens there.
But they do community works, it's not,
And I think,
it's not distinctly different from what,
and I
they
think
do, right?
part of
'Cause I
it
mean-
was being budgeted through the ARPA process in the past. It
Right, it
wasn't
was
included in
originally.
here,
Mhm.
and then it is some of those agencies that were listed on the prior slide were kind of the ARPA holdovers, if you will, where we were trying to continue some of the operations. And the contracts, I think we'll touch on in a minute, or they're in here sort of, is the RFPs where we actually have contracts. Those do live in the budgets, but since we don't have a contract with Community Haven, it is just an agency appropriation to them for their operations. I think part of the RFP, and I wasn't here, but I think part of the idea of doing the RFP is to get those inside the department budgets. But ARPA kind of muddied the water with that, where we now have some that live in the budgets and some that don't. And this is just kind of a holdover from the
so does
ARPA.
that roll up then to community health is where they report their progress, or does it roll up through, sounds like it doesn't roll up through police.
No, it doesn't
It
roll
rolls
up through police, it actually rolls up through kind of the grant scheme because it was ARPA legacy.
Okay.
But I think it's important to think about that.
Because I could see this, Habitat and C&E roll up under affordable housing, right? Like they
Yes.
report all of their stuff to
Yep.
them, so it would make sense to me that community policing would report to police.
Yep, it would, and I think we have to
That would be
figure that
part of
out
the budget.
on a go-forward of what that's gonna look like. This is one of those examples that it was a one-time allocation that we've made 3 times. And we gotta figure out, what does it look like going forward? With our other community violence intervention folks, we have been able to supplement ARPA funding through a DOJ grant that has enabled that program to continue. And so I think that we need to, again, collectively think about what does Community Haven look like on a go forward? Where does that live? And is it something that we're going to continue to fund on a go forward? And how are we gonna get there?
I mean, Councilwoman Knoll has expressed the success that they've had, and so it just seems like police are about to potentially have a $100 million budget. $750,000 within that makes, if that's successful, I'm trying to find it a home if it's really, really working.
It is working and it definitely needs a permanent home, for sure.
Are we referring to,
Community Haven.
right?
And just to chime in with Madam Chair Hill, agreed, I think it is doing an amazing job as they celebrated that milestone, I think back in May. Definitely
The no shooting.
the no shooting, yeah, so I mean, clearly all the things that are taking place are working all together, and that Community Haven is a part of it, so definitely, as we pull back, can't wait to hear from Chief Chambers next week and see how we can work with that community police, and that was something Madam Chair brought up about a year ago when, he came and Brother Muhammad came and presented, so that was a great
Sustainability.
question, yeah, so I thank you for bringing that back up.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And I think you could argue like these top 5 agencies here of the 11 million could be reallocated to within the departments as opposed to being budgeted on this line.
Yeah, so one other thing about these, y'all, as I talk about and allude to like the potential of scope growth within city government and what we're good at and what we're not good at. And you all know that I'm so dug in on housing and have been on the board of Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, and so I see the work that they do, and I believe this is a step down support. But there are things that nonprofits and things outside of our government do better than we do. And I think we need to remember that an allocation doesn't mean that is money that if we pull that in, we can just do something, not necessarily. So if there's a group that's doing something well, is it work that we should be doing at all? When Launch was here a couple weeks back and they talked about the number of entrepreneurs that are graduating into successful businesses, and I think we need to do a little bit of inward reflection on, are we as successful with small business development, economic development within our city staffing? The programs that we do, or can we make our money go further if we invest tax dollars in something outside? We just need to be thoughtful about that, and I don't see some of these RFP contracts as, oh gee, we're just giving money away. I think it's
No.
how much money would it cost us to do it in-house?
That's right.
Versus, and do it as well. If we're gonna provide excellent services, we need to be really good at what we do, and we can't be good at everything.
Which, as I appreciate history here, that was the premise of switching to an RFP model, is that we identified these verticals of things that we know have to be done, who is best to do them.
Who is best to do them, exactly.
Yeah. Right. It's good.
And Madam Chair?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Councilman Harvey.
Community Haven, does that include the chain breakers?
It does not.
No,
It does not, okay.
no.
Chain breakers are now going to be DOJ funded.
Okay.
You said PO what?
DOJ, Department of
DO.
Justice, yeah, it's a U.S.
Okay.
federal grant that we were
That's
able to
great.
capture from them.
Really great.
Councilman Parker, another question.
I want to piggyback something Chairwoman Hill mentioned about if there's opportunities for different things to be absorbed in other areas of the budget. I know with Community Haven, I think it is a successful program. I think it could be expanded to include other communities and perhaps being absorbed by the police department. There might be opportunities for that. As we think about how things are distributed citywide, and not as a carve-out. And it feels like a carve-out because it only benefits one district at about which I think is great. I don't think this goes against any of their performance. But, when I look at per capita, how certain funds are distributed citywide and what it benefits, this seems, and you will hear me use this word in this legislative body, it seems a little bit disproportionate. So if there's an opportunity to help expand a good program, to absorb it under another department to help build that capacity, I think it should be considered so that we all can reap the benefits of the outcomes of that program.
Councilman Clark, Councilwoman Noel?
It does benefit other districts. It was actually started out in District 7 a few years back, and the crime was reduced there. So not only District 8, but at the time, District 8 is high in crime, and we need it there, and we definitely need a permanent home for it, and whatever that looks like as a council family, as a city administrators, and we are on board to do that. A conversation has been had with Chief Chambers and Brother Kevin Muhammad in reference to trying to see what is the best place or best home for that, because it is an excellent tool. And so get ready for us to see some really, not that before things has not been great, but look for some stuff to come forward that is going to be amazing. So, yeah, and if you need it, then reach out.
Yeah, I just like to know how it benefits
Okay.
my district. It's not, right now, their footprint doesn't include, it only includes District 8.
Well,
It doesn't
you haven't
include my
reached
district.
out. Have you reached out to Brother Kevin to see if he can benefit your district?
From what I understand, which is similar to how we do River City, they have a footprint. And so like, if I ask River City to do something outside of their footprint, which is the downtown footprint, that's not permissible in my district. From what I understand, this is just for District 8. Is that not the case for
Di-
the 750,000?
District 8 shares the love.
Okay.
So,
And that's news. If we can request that to come outside of the bounds of District 8, I support that. Which is what my request is.
okay, well, we open for that conversation,
Right,
but
sounds like
to dismiss,
we get
please
into
let
the-
me finish.
Yeah, we get,
Madam
you
Chair.
wanna finish? Okay.
Yes. Don't dismiss or don't insinuate that it's only just for District 8. Everybody benefits from it. If District 8 crime is reduced, then the crime for the whole city is benefiting from it. Everybody's gonna benefit from that crime being reduced in District 8. Okay, thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you, Madam Vice Chair. All right, so, in an effort of keeping this moving forward, jot down your questions and we'll just kind of breeze on through and try to grab those at the end.
Public Works, 292 positions, $26 million, along with waste disposal costs, street lining, their fleet vehicle operations, all the different things that they have going on. Again, their other bucket is large, but that's, again, they do a lot of different things, so it's hard to grab it all in one slide. Parks and Outdoors, $16.8 million budget, 9.3 of that is their authorized positions, along with everything else that they have. Utilities, zoo, the management fee we pay to the zoo, the contracted operations, employment agencies for their part-time or temporary staffing, parks development programs, so on and so forth. Early learning, 3.3 million, with 17 authorized positions or other contracted services, program expenses, and again, space costs is allocated to them. City plan, 5 authorized positions, make up the bulk of their budget, along with some consulting fees, space costs that they pay, and then their other miscellaneous items. The difference. ECE is
What is ECE?
This is the equity and community engagement.
Equity community. I thought it was early childhood education.
Just like most of the other departments, very position heavy. 1.3 million of their 1.9 is 12 authorized positions, along with some temp staffing, training, some program expenses for programs that they run, space costs, things of that nature. And then economic development, $7 million, 31 authorized positions, consulting fees, contracted services. And so this is kind of at a very high level what each department's budget does currently as it sits now. And so then again, the purpose of going through this and having this red number is that 2% mark that we kind of set. If we wanted to find 5 million, that's roughly where it would need to be, and kind of going through the thought exercise of, well, where would we find, $18,000 or $50,000 or wherever this number lands, knowing that the big buckets are here, just trying to think through where could that cost be, and there's not a whole lot of what we'll call fluff in these budgets. It's a lot of important things. A lot of folks, authorized positions make up a big chunk of this. And to Councilman Ellen's point, if you go line by line, you may find we can cut this and cut this, but I'm not sure you'll get to the $5 million or whatever, again, whatever that number needs to be, going
You sure?
line by line. I'm not sure. But,
You could get to it, but there would be an impact.
right, without meaningfully impacting some program or something.
Pretty
cutting
good with a
supplies.
scalpel.
Well, and I think what's not reflected on here that also needs to be considered is that when we talk about 311, those are the unanticipated calls that we get, right? So we already have a work order set out of like what the plan is for the year. And then every time one of you or 311 calls and says, hey, there's this issue, we need you to go fix it, that is gas, that is training, that is people, that is vehicle wear and tear, that is, all the things that go into that to go address those issues that are unanticipated. From new hire orientation, turnover, we have all these things that we don't reflect in this budget in a day-to-day basis of the costs that we do incur that you don't see in these numbers. And that's where, like I said, when we talk about public works specifically, that's the biggest drain on their budget, is that they're doing all these one-offs. Like if someone doesn't put their trash out, then we go back and pick it up. That's again, gas and labor and wear and tear and all these things that we go through, to get that done. So those are not the numbers that you see, and things get pushed back because of the fact that we're dealing with issues as they come when they arise, right? We have an issue, a sinkhole, same thing with fire. They go have a, homeless encampment they have to clear out and they have to rescue all those people. Well, other things don't get done because they're going and doing those things. Same thing with police. All of these things, like right now we've got the situation at Tyner and police is dedicating their time to figure out what's going on there. And so, that all we constantly pivot and move to the next thing to try to provide that excellent service and continue the day-to-day operations even when we have other bigger issues that we have to handle.
Yeah, so again, it's the position of the administration that we put forward and you guys passed an efficient budget that does not have bloat or fluff in it. But what you now have is the inputs that you would need to go and find, $5 million more of savings in it. And if you guys want to put together the proposal and bring it forward in a couple of weeks when we sit down with your ideas, like let's do that and look at it. But backing out $1 million out of public works is going to have an impact, and is that really what we're trying to do when we have a lot of work to do in the public works space? I don't think that it is. I think it would be moving us in the wrong direction.
So, I guess in this, for those interested, if you have some ideas or some spaces we can cut, please feel free to bring those and we can discuss those prior to, discuss those in next week's budget meeting. And then, just a note, what I did notice, and I think Weston said it, is we all saw it, that the majority of the funding, all is personnel. It's our people at the end of the day, and we put our people first. And I think that is, I think that's the example we want to set as a city. We just want to make sure that they are well-trained, well-equipped, and have all the things that they need. So I think seeing this, even though we see it in a budget and we go through the budget and all those things, sometimes seeing it in this type of format makes it a little, more eye-opening for us. What I would like is just a quick, like a pie chart or something that has what is the percent of personnel versus everything else, or if you can put those in each one, like across the board risk assessment, what's the percentage of all these total, and then the actual number of personnel, what's that percentage of everything else. And everything don't have to be together, but you can break it up into little,
that exists kind of in the
spaces.
front of the PDF, where it's the this is the budget proposal that I'm thinking of. That has that pie chart. Doesn't it at the front of this?
I feel like it should.
It does.
Yes.
It should.
It does.
Yeah. So
Salaries,
So
so by department is 40,
so when you see that, 45%.
personnel total 72 when you factor in benefits.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Can
Yes.
can we take that apart just a little bit? You said like we're all about our people. As a city, we exist, I just love for us to have just a conversation. We exist for the people of Chattanooga. We don't exist for our own existence,
Right.
in my opinion.
That's correct. The service.
The city, yeah, so, is our number one, the people that the city of Chattanooga employed, or is our number one our services, our police, like the things we are here as a city to provide, police, roads, fire, garbage pickup?
I think it's both. I think we are a service-based industry, and so in order to have quality service, you gotta have quality people. So I don't think they coexist with each other. In order for us to have this great service, we have to have great people. However, leaning to your point about, but what is it we're not quite doing well? You know, like, we just got a new workforce development person, and, you know, but then Launch comes in and says, you know, we're graduating this many entrepreneurs, or, you know, would it serve better for us to outsource that, you know, or something like that. So I think they coexist together. We just have to figure out I don't think it's in the best balance, but I think we have to figure that out. But I think that's a good point. I think the service comes first. Well, chicken before the egg, I guess.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
service comes first,
I'd
yeah.
love to hear the council's
Yes.
thoughts on it.
Yeah,
It's just,
can
it's
I
a
jump in?
question, genuinely a question I'd love to understand.
I would suggest or submit that you can't separate the two, right? Like, you can't provide the service without the people. The question that we're constantly having to evaluate is, you know, one, it's like, it's classic, like, team building. Like, do we have the right people? Okay. Well, do we have the right people in the right positions? Okay. Well, do we have the people who we know are in the right positions doing the right sort of things?
Doing the right sort of thing is the question.
And I think that is kind of like the iterative process of getting to where we all want to be, which is performing at a high level against the right objectives in an effective way.
Conservative costs. Okay. Madam Chair.
I mean, if any of my
Oh,
colleagues
okay.
have anything else to say about that, appreciate it.
Yeah, I think at least the way I'm gonna look at this is, you know, are we doing what we are here to do? And what is that definition? Do we need to redefine ourselves? I don't know. It's something I think we should all look at with each line item that we go by, each department. You know, is this accomplishing the goals of the city of Chattanooga? Is it doing what we are defined to do? You know, and are we doing it the best way? Do we need, you know, 108 people to accomplish X, Y, and Z? You know, are they on the right bus? You know, or the seat on the bus, so to speak? You know, are there new and innovative ways that we can look at doing something better with less? You know, I don't know. I don't know that question, but it's something I want to ask myself as we're going through this: is what are we here to do?
Yeah. So at the highest level, I think that's great. That's the right question. But I think let's remind ourselves that what this budget does is it continues executing against a set of priorities that this administration has defined. And we are doing so year over year more efficiently, right? Each time we come and bring a new proposal. And I think the answer to the question is, well, what are some metrics that we could look at to know whether or not we're doing it? And one metric that sticks out in my mind is the fact that this mayor was just reelected with 85% of the vote, right? And so it's like, that's pretty strong. I think people are pretty happy about what we're doing. I think we're doing it pretty good. And there's not a whole lot of fluff in this budget. So I kind of feel like, let's keep going. You know what I mean? Like, what is the next opportunity for us to, like, do more? And I hear there's always opportunities to do it better, right? Let's get specific. Let's talk about those. Let's land it. But, like, let's go. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Councilman Clark?
Yeah, I just want to, again, contribute to the conversation that Chairwoman Hill has talked about when we talk about service delivery and basically our return on investment. You know, if we are a service delivery organization, which I believe we are, and I think we're a lot of things, but for the most part, we spend a lot of money on service delivery. And I get the practical recommendation is, hey, let's get to it, which is why I asked the question 2 hours ago, like, how are we analyzing? Going to what Councilman Harvey said, where are the opportunities? Who is the person that comes in and says, hey, this isn't working, or this needs to be like a project manager? I don't know, but I would love to see if there are quality service opportunities for someone to analyze that, bring a report back and say, you know what, we did it for every department, every office. It's almost like I don't want to use the audit word, but not financially, but just how do we audit what our service delivery looks like? And I asked that question, Kevin, and I know a lot of that burden is placed on the administrators, is from what I was hearing when we are evaluating key performance indicators. Like, here are the metrics. And you're saying we're meeting the metrics. And I have not seen metrics. I don't know, maybe I'm new, I'm still trying to figure out where documents live. But if there is a narrative that says we're doing this, why would you want to cut this if we're doing this?
Yeah.
We are speaking in broad language here and saying, I think this works, I think this doesn't work. I need data and reports because I need to be armed with information like we were earlier this morning, so I can go back and was like, well, guys, I support this cut because XYZ. This is not working. Like 301, I think has some technical issues, but I also think there are some customer service issues that need to be evaluated. And so my question, again, to Chairwoman Hill's point is that as we're having these conversations and as you all would like to move forward, what can you all do to ease our questions and concerns about service delivery? Because it keeps coming up, but I haven't heard of a tool that measures or backs up some of the KPIs that you all brag about.
Yeah.
So, which is okay. I'm like, great, if you guys are doing a great job, I stand corrected. But so far, I stand a little bit questionable about if those KPIs are being
I
met.
appreciate that. I think it might be helpful, and we're happy to share with you guys in more kind of detail just some of like those tools and those plans that exist. So like we use Monday.com as our project management tool, and every department has 1 year plans. I think, showing you some history there and then some insight of what those are currently looking like. I think we could share out, Steve, some of the metrics that we use to measure progress against them, and then just know that we're having ongoing
Sure,
conversations.
about performance.
Yeah, and about constantly trying to figure out, like, are these the right ones? And, the mayor is recently read a book called Measure What Matters that he's having the cabinet read to kind of put a further point on, hey, are we measuring the right stuff?
Right.
How do we know it's the right stuff? And then taking that and applying it to take the next iteration and kind of refining our metrics. But
Has that been previously requested by other council members, as far as like what a report looks like on how we're meeting those metrics? And if so, can that be shared with our chairwoman?
To my knowledge, it has not been requested previously, which I think is, again, we're like a new cast of characters
Sure.
here, and you guys have, I think, heretofore what could be characterized as a unique interest in this level of operational detail. And we're happy to we're happy to show you some stuff.
Well, and I would add in, so there are tangible metrics and there are non-tangible metrics. So I want to use an example of a non-tangible metric. So I can give you all day long how many programs we have at community centers, how many people we're serving,
Sure.
all the things we're doing. I cannot measure the impact that we have on those children, and I have seen it myself going into those, how some of our managers act as surrogate parents to those children and are their mentors and doing things for them. Son currently in one of the camps. I mean, he's super impressed with what we do. I can't measure that. I can't measure how we're building community for people and how they feel connected and they get to go to their Bible study or their card games and they feel like that is, a bonus to their life. Same thing with parks. We don't have a ticket taker when people go to parks to say, I enjoyed this park today, I like this park today. I don't have a happy, sad button to measure that to say whether or not they enjoyed it or found it dirty or whatever else. So there's only so many of us to go around to be, checking to make sure that everything's in place, and we are leanly staffed. And when we talk about community centers, we just talked about how many people are in community centers. So the expectation that someone is sitting at the front desk greeting people and that someone is taking care of the kids and there are fights going on is difficult. Because if you only have 2 people, there's only so many places for you to be in a center the size of Ramsey or Carver or anything like that. But we can certainly tell you that, for one, we do expectations for every single person. They've all sat down and reviewed their job descriptions. There is accountability. There are 1 year plans. And we do spot check on these things. Like I said, we're going out into the departments and seeing what people are doing and saying, hey, correct this isn't right. If we get feedback, we do it. And I don't want to say our metrics are when we receive complaints, we fix them, right? That is not a good metric. We want to be on the proactive, not the reactive metric. But we are doing so many different things aside from the VRC and making sure that every position is necessary and all these things that we put into place. So I feel like, and I know I'm the ops person, so I'm gonna say this, but we have 2,600 employees, and I'm super proud of the work they did. I just rode with someone to do the recycling pickup, the navigation through these city streets with people parked on the sides in North Chattanooga, and the fact that you got landscape people and delivery drivers, and they're getting around, they're trying to pick up 1,200 cans a day, which is insane. That's an insane amount of cans to be picking up. So there's a lot of things, like I said, the things you don't hear about are the good things, right? Because people don't call, they're not writing Yelp reviews about how the city
Sure.
has really helped them. Although we do get compliments every now and then, I'm very grateful for them. But we hear about the things where things are missed. And so we take every single complaint seriously
Sure.
and investigate it to make sure that we're doing what we can do. And I'm not saying that there aren't areas of improvement that we
opportunity,
can make. I want to be clear about
Of
that.
course,
But
always.
I'm very proud of our employees, and I do think for the most part, they take pride in what they do. They know their customers, they're out there. I mean, like I said, when I rode with a gentleman, he knew where someone who had a disabled son and put the can next to the other can. He was like, I'm gonna jump out. I know I'm not supposed to, but I know his son is disabled, so I'm gonna jump out and move this can for him. You know, so like I said, they go above and beyond. And it's the same thing with community centers. They're feeding kids that are not their own. They're taking care of them. They're making sure they get home and they're safe and all those types of things that we don't hear about. I don't know about these things. I'm not at the centers at night to know that they're doing these things. So I just want to give a shout out to our people because I feel like they do
Yeah.
really work hard and they get beat up a bunch for the things that go wrong and they don't hear a lot of praise for the things that go right. And historically, we had a horrible pay situation when I came in here, and then we've done some increases to get them up to market. We're never going to be the lead in compensation ever. Not in police, not in fire, not anywhere. But we do have to remain competitive or we cannot provide these services because people aren't going to come work here. And if they do, they're the people we don't want because they're willing to work for peanuts just to have a job, right? We want people that feel valued and want to be at work and want to do a good job. So I'm off my soapbox. Thank you.
And one quick to follow up, and I'll yield to the Chairwoman Hill. And we're all in agreement with that. But what I keep hearing Chairwoman Hill mention over and over again, which I am sensitive to, is that if there are quality service opportunities, which there are, because you guys do a great job,
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if there are some opportunities and we're on this repetitive, let's identify them, again, what are the tools? What are the,
Yeah.
I
So-
think it has to be addressed. It's
Yeah.
come up a few times.
So I want to say the things
And
that we
so-
have done thus far is we did hire a consultant to come in
Okay.
and look at city court. We have a project manager in the mayor's office that's working on individual projects where we see that there are opportunities for innovation and change. We have dealt with our payroll department, increasing we had an issue with our payroll department and some problems there. So we have been doing things as we have the resources to do them, to do like innovative
To do a quality
ideas,
control
do
check.
quality checks.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And like I said, we have an innovation program as well to tell people if you see an inefficiency as an employee or see something that doesn't look right, and we have had people say that, like the garbage routes, we went from doing sections to doing individual call outs to 311, and we have pivoted as we have heard feedback on those things. So, but we
I
could
got
use
you.
more. We could use more people to go do quality checks, but we don't have the capacity to do that.
Gotcha. All right, sorry, Chairwoman Hill.
I was thinking practically about the question that you had, and I mean, certainly if the administration wants to share monday.com dashboards, you certainly can. I think that our committees are a great place to have conversations like that because the committee chair would be able to have, ongoing conversations to understand, here are the goals, here's where we want to head, and then be able to shepherd into council a presentation that's around those things. So using the example of the garbage, that a public works meeting where we say, we've had these challenges, here's what we've done.
Gotcha.
We have had presentations like that in the past, like as the city experimenting with leaf pickup, for example, and brush pickup with 311, because it's interesting to try things in city government or in government in general because there's not a lot of grace for experimentation. People want you to get everything right on the first try, but those kind of feedback sessions, I think, given in context, would be most useful to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairwoman Hill really tapped on what I wanted to say. And going off of what Councilman Harvey said before, defining what type of, this is really for the council, it's less for the administration, really defining what type of council we want to be. I think we've all seen we are much more vocal and proactive council than previous ones. And I,
Not quite
No.
true, but you go right ahead. As someone that was on previous council. Just say
Well-
thank
We
you.
didn't have any hands, but we welcome.
Right.
were you on this one too? I'm not you down, I'm sorry.
Right.
But you know, we're asking questions that, you know, we haven't used a lot of our mechanisms before, or tools before us to use it. We have committees for a reason, and I think it's part of our responsibility to guide that what we want to see those metrics look like. You know, I think community development popped up in my head. As we move towards these centers that are more resource hubs like the mayor wants, I think about, okay, I'm looking forward to the day where I'm able to log on and see this is what this program is, this center is offering at this time, this is what this center is offering at this time, and then for us as a council to come back and say, what's attendance looking like for those programs, right? Talk to us about how people are engaging with those. Public Works, you know, what's the wastewater, what's the status of our consent decree, right? What does that look like? I think about the floods that have happened in Hickson these past recent months. I would like to talk to wastewater and be like, what are we doing to mitigate those problems for our constituents, right? We have committees that are incredibly powerful. And I think if we leaned in with our department heads and figure out how do we steer those, not only with programmatically, but more importantly, what we control is budgetarily. You know, all of this is connected back to the budget. We pass a budget that allows them to do all of this, and that's what we have oversight over. So I think this could be a conversation that we should probably even entertain to continue to have. Maybe we can help strengthen frameworks around our committee to give support for individual committee chairs. So we're not having to start from scratch or fire from the hip to kind of strengthen that. And I think this will also take a lot of pressure off the administration as well if we were able to stand up some type of more formalized framework for how we can better use these committees. So that's all.
I'll just respond real quick and say that you can, on an app, look at every community center and every program that is offered, yes.
Good
So you
deal.
can look at that, you can also do facility rentals on that app.
That day came today, huh?
Yeah,
Or
so today's the day.
previous.
Now granted, like I said, we need to give you the report outs of how many people attend these issues, but you do have this app that they created. It's actually fantastic. It's how I registered myself for camp. But you can look up all the different activities. Right now there's summer camps, so you don't see some at some different areas. But like I said, it's a great way to check and see what's going on with your community. Because I was really mad I missed the glow-in-the-dark dodgeball. But you can go on there and look and see what different activities they have going on. But we'll get you the report outs of what happens, because that's important to know how many people are actually participating.
But it's not just on your shoulders. If we want to know,
Yeah,
I think we have to be proactive and use the mechanisms that
yeah.
that our government allows to use that.
Yeah.
That's all, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Elliott. Any additional questions as we're closing out? We're finished, right? Okay, as we close this out, and I did want to say, some things that I do sometimes to check in is I would ask Stan Sewell for a report on the department just because I can. And so that's another one. He'll go in and audit the department based on what, and he shares it with everybody. But like, if you had a particular department that you wanted to do an audit on, he'll do it.
Like, does that include performance or just finance?
Whatever you it's what you ask. So whatever if you want performance, if you want, a policy on something, or like if they have a particular policy, like a leave policy, how many people are doing this? Are we doing it right? Are we doing it? So that's a good way to slide in and get your own report. So that's he usually sends out at the kind of top of the year. Are there ones you want to look at? But throughout the year, you can send them to him too. So I just want to offer that as a resource too, because that's a good way to get. I'm not saying the information is biased, but that's a good way to get an unbiased opinion. Or if it's a report like administration submitted a report, and you say, Stan, could you do me an audit on this report that they just sent, you know, and they'll do it over there. That team is fantastic.
But do they, if I don't request it, you're saying they do it on an annual routine basis?
Yeah, he'll send out a note and say, hey, is there anything particular that you want to look at? And then you can send them back the request of those things, and they'll add it to their audit schedule. Or anytime during the year, too. You can just say, Stan. And so, and they'll do the audit for you.
So that is the tool that I've been
Yes.
referencing? Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like I'm speaking in a different language. I'm like, is there
Yes.
an auditing performance measuring tool? And does the administration utilize that office as well, or for that purpose?
We utilize it for many purposes.
Okay, but not just council, but we can, okay. That's good to
I
know.
haven't seen them
Yeah.
as much service, that's the only thing I'd say
Gotcha.
there.
Yes, it is fantastic.
Thank you.
So with that, I think we're ending a little early. Praise the Lord.
thank you.
So we are. So remember, next week, 9 a.m. Marty Haynes, our property assessor, will be here with us. And then next week we'll be looking at the Chattanooga Police Department budget as well as Chattanooga Fire Department budget as well. So be ready for that. Have your questions queued up, and then before our next session, Kevin or Kim, will y'all send us the answers to the
will.
responsibilities? Okay, so we'll have that before
We'll
our
have the
session. next week.
presentations for next week to you
Okay.
guys early as well. And then I also wanted to mention that Chris Hopkins is gonna join, so that
Oh,
after
cool.
we do fire and police,
Okay.
if there are any questions as it relates to the pension,
Okay.
he can answer those, and I'll have him maybe prepare something just to.
I know he's coming at 3:30 in general for the religion session, but he said he'd come earlier to these meetings in case something came up.
Okay, and Chris is our appointee to the pension board. I mean, well, he's
He's an advisor.
an advisor to the pension board. Okay, Chris.
He's an advisor, yeah.
Okay, so Chris.
Weston is actually the mayor's appointee to the pension board.
Okay, so Chris Hopkins and Marty Haynes are coming next week. Okay, any other special guests? Our TV show. All right. Oh, did you have something? Councilwoman?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, y'all. Well, that's it. We'll see each other at
3:30, let's plan it. Let's do that.
Yes.
Good.
I need to go to like a